I want to talk about puppy barking and some things that you can do to get the puppy to stop barking. And one thing that's real important is that I don't have the puppy with me right now. She's inside sleeping. But one thing that you would try, and this wouldn't be at 8 weeks, because puppies at 8 weeks, they're puppies. They're going to bark. There's going to be some noise, okay? So if you can't deal with it, don't get a puppy. But at about 11, 12, 13 weeks, you start telling the dog no and start using some negativity, and you use a measured response, meaning the first thing that I'm going to try using with Tracer when she gets in her barking tirades is a spray bottle. And what I'll do is I'll spray her like that right in the face while saying no. And don't say, "Oh, poor puppy," because I'll tell you something. This is a huge problem. And if you live in a city like New York City or any city, you have neighbors and your dog's barking, you can have your dog labeled a nuisance and, they'll come take your dog away. So it isn't poor puppy. The puppy needs to learn because the puppy lives in a human society. Okay? Now, the puppy is inside and the puppy's sleeping, so the puppy is not with me. And that's very important because you really should let sleeping dogs lie. You might wake the dog up. This is true, especially when it's a puppy, to get it outside. You want to be preemptive. Get the dog outside to go to the bathroom. But if they're being good and I just work the puppy, I need a rest. And what I want to say is, if you have children, man, don't let the children bother the dog. And when it's a puppy like this, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, keep the children away. That's the worst thing that you could do. Letting the children on the floor and letting the puppy jump on the children, bite at the children with those puppy teeth. You know what you're doing? You're training that dog to be a dick. You're training that dog that it's okay to jump on humans, to bite at humans. That is not socializing the dog. There's this total misconception in society that doing something like that is socializing the dog. No, it's not. You know how you would do it? You would have your dog on a leash and make sure that your dog is compliant around the children. Don't let it jump on the kids. And don't let the puppy jump on an adult dog because it might get its ass kicked. So if you do have another dog and you have a puppy, you make sure and have that puppy on a leash. Because if it's not, and you're not in the room, that adult dog can kill that puppy, and it happens all the time. Wake up, people. Now, as far as like barking and a measured response goes, this is what I'm going to use first. And I'll use this for a couple weeks and try and instill in the dog that barking's not going to get you anything except that, and it's not going to be positive. And I'm also going to be saying no. If it would continue, I might try a scruff shake, but you only do that with a young puppy. And I'll go over that in another video if I need to do that. But I probably have videos on that anyway. Basically, what you do is you just sort of grab the puppy by the scruff and just do this a little bit. They don't like it. And if the puppy makes like a vocalization because you startled it, good, then it's working. But we're not going to go there because we might not have to go there. You use pressure that's appropriate. And this dog's smart, so this dog will probably learn by just going like that and saying no. Say no. You could try a shake can, but a shake can's not going to really do too much. A shake can is like a Coke can or something filled with pennies or whatever, and you shake it. Now, what that can do is it sort of startles the dog, sort of. Or it changes the mindset of the dog, and they're like, what's that? So it'd be the same thing as if you dropped like some magazines on the floor or something. The dog might stop, but the dog will keep going because that's not really negativity. And at a point, you have to use some negativity. And I know that there's some positive reinforcement food trainers out there going, no, that's not true. You know what they recommend? They recommend using food with everything. So when the puppy stops barking, give it food. Does that make sense to you? Does that make sense? Do it and see what happens. Another thing that the positive reinforcement trainers, this would be an example of just nonsense that's, they're sending the incorrect message to the American people and society in general. They're telling you what you want to hear. So like say you have a dog that's barking at the mailman, lunging at the mailman, they want you to give it food when it stops lunging. The chicken understands what that would do. You're feeding the dog. You're feeding into that energy, and you're just going to train the dog that every time it sees that mailman and barks, and growls at the mailman, stay away from positive reinforcement food trainers. I'm sorry if some people see this that work at PetSmart or Petco. You went to ABC food training school. That is totally inappropriate. We have 4 million dogs dying every year. And you have an organization like that and other organizations like Gene Donaldson, blah, 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 Karen Pratt. I could give you a list of people that don't really know how to correct the dog because that's not what they're about. They're about selling garbage to the American people and dogs and, dog owners in general, that you can use purely positive methods. Let me tell you something about purely positive methods. That isn't science-based. Science-based dog training is about operant conditioning. That's B.F. Skinner's work, and it's about the positive, the negative, and the alleviation of both. It isn't about just a subsection, which is a positive portion. So if you hear somebody saying this, we're using purely positive methods and it's science-based, know that they're telling you what they want to hear. And one other thing while we're on the subject, they sell this clicker, right? They sell it as like this mystical thing that's going to help your dog learn. It's bullshit. Do you know what the clicker is, just so everybody knows? It's the same thing as saying good or good boy or good girl or yes. It's a marker to tell your dog that that's in the proper position. That's all it is. You can say yes. There's nothing mystical about it. And when they want you to load that clicker, click food, click food, click food, it's absurd. You're conditioning that dog to be excited. And when it hears that click, it'll be excited. And there's a surefire way to know if you did it wrong, too. Click that clicker and see what your dog does. Does your dog sit or give you a command or start spinning around, offering behaviors? Offering behaviors is not good. That's a sign of a non-compliant dog. That's all that is. That's non-compliancy, pure and simple. But because you worked with a purely positive food trainer that doesn't understand how, that you're going to say no at some point, go to a dog trainer, a balance trainer that can teach you how to interact with your dog when your dog is being negative. Stay away from positive reinforcement trainers. They're selling you garbage. They're telling you stuff that you want to hear. It's not appropriate for your dog, and certainly not appropriate for a puppy. Keep your puppy off the kids. Keep the puppy off of you. Keep it on a leash inside. If the dog starts barking at a certain point, 11, 12, 13 weeks, you got to start telling the dog that this is an inappropriate behavior. And you might try the spray bottle. It's not going to hurt the dog. Tie it in with the word no.